This entire series is designed to really boost your marketing efforts, to help you bring marketing and your voice into your customers, and making sure that they're really aware of your organization and what you're doing and what your value proposition and your value add is to them. So we have these 5 sessions running every Thursday throughout the month of June at 11 Eastern Time. We'll also record and transcribe them. And the topics that we're focusing on, last week we did attract. We had guest Aaron Evans from our marketing team talk about ways to attract customers into understanding that you offer voice services and what your voice practice looks like. Today, we're going to be going through interact, which is once you've attracted that customer, how are you going to interact with them and really sell them and articulate your value proposition. And then the coming weeks, we'll have transact, activate, and attach. Because we're really looking to make sure that you follow through and follow your customer on their entire journey with you. And each week, what I'm doing is I'm bringing in an expert from my team. These are people that SIPPIO sought out and recruited and brought into our organization based on the experiences, the knowledge, and the success that these different individuals that we brought to the team have had over their career in these different respected areas. So today, I'm super excited to ask Steve Borkham to join me on stage. And we're going to be discussing interact, and Steve's going to be walking you through how to really have a great customer experience and great customer discussion once you've generated some interest. So welcome, Steve. I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of background on you, if that's okay.
Sure.
Steve lives just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. I think it's Amherst, right? And Steve's our director of program management. He's just been on board with us for a couple of months. We hired Steve due to his long and successful tenure working in the traditional telco industry. You know, he's done enterprise voice, he's done VoIP, he's done UCaaS, and now he's bringing his talents into the world of collaboration. One of the things that Steve's really known for is his ability to net out a value proposition that helps you speak to your customer wants versus just showing up and displaying all your kind of cool features. Steve and I worked together at a prior company, and so we've had not only a professional rapport, but a personal one as well. And one of the things that I fondly remember is kind of traveling around the U.S., and we had an IoT bar, or an IoT petting zoo, if you will, where we brought new appliances and devices to the table or the bar to educate our customers and our partners on all the advances in technology with AI and talking directionally about where things in this industry were going. So welcome, Steve. I'm super to have you here at SIPPIO, and I'm super happy to have you at this event today. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So I'm going to hand the floor and the reins over to you.
Sure.
And talk about how you jump off from where Aaron left off on bringing customers into the fold to now how do you really, really have a great conversation with them?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, once you've got the customer's interest, the next step is how do you talk to them? How do you message to them? And how do you create something that's so compelling that your choice is the only choice that they see on the table? So today, what I want to talk about is just 3 things. I'm not going to, kill people with a long presentation. Really want to get to question and answer. The first thing I want to talk about is the messaging. The before you start building a PowerPoint, before you start thinking about what do I want to talk to this customer about, you really need to kind of do your homework. You need to understand it's not about you, it's about them. What are they looking to get from this discussion from you? What are they hoping to learn through this journey once they're talking to you? And ultimately, what obstacles do you need to overcome in order to get that closed business? The second thing is I want to deal with this issue of death by PowerPoint, because I think presentations get a horrible reputation. People think presentations are just a penance that I've got to serve in order to get what I'm trying to do. I've got to sit and listen to this person drone on and on and on. And PowerPoint gets a bad rap. It's not the tool's fault. It's what is being said. It's how it's being presented. That's the big problem. So the second thing is I want to talk to you about how you avoid that. How do you create really compelling presentations, whether you're speaking to 5 people or 5,000 people? How do you engage that audience? And then third, what you say matters. And most importantly, you want to talk to the customer about the solution. We've talked about solution selling for years, but what does that really mean? You know, if you really boil the water out of the pot, what's left is you need to talk about what you do for them, not what you are to them. So those three things are what I want to cover. I'm going to go through it really quick because again, I want to get to questions at the end because I think that's where the best value comes from. So let's start by talking about the homework you've got to do. When you're thinking about creating messaging that matters, you've got to start with understanding, why is it this customer is even sitting talking to you? That's got to be the top line of what the purpose of this presentation is. What are they looking to gain from sitting and listening to me? So what I've found in joining SIPPIO is a lot of customers are really ready to make that jump to move to a world where voice is a feature that you turn on, not a thing that you buy. But what they need from you is they need a permission structure. They need to feel comfortable that it's okay to let go of the phone system and to move to this world where voice is embedded into collaboration. So, if I'm creating a presentation, I'm going to start with that. My customer is looking to learn this. So that guides the message that I'm going to build. The next step is you've got to have that aha moment where the light bulb goes off the customer's head. You see them start nodding their heads. They get what you're talking about. And then the final thing is customers have this illusion that choice is a benefit when it's actually a tax. Customers don't want more choice. They want more confidence in the choices that they make. So ultimately, you've got to communicate why your choice is the one that they should have confidence in. So if you look at those three elements and you build that in Word, not in PowerPoint, I'm not at the presentation stuff yet. I'm talking about crafting that messaging. It should start in Word. It should have these three elements. But once you're ready to move to the presentation, if we move to the next slide, the way that you keep from killing people with PowerPoint is you use the rule of three. The human body can remember three things. Two things, not so much. Five things, six things to eight things, forget it. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour later, they're not going to remember anything of your presentation. Rule of three. I've used it already twice. Three things on the agenda, three things that you got to build into your messaging. Now let's talk about the rule of three when it comes to presentations. If you use the rule of three or think of your presentation in 3 acts, it lines up really nicely with what we just talked about. The first thing you want to do with any presentation or any type of messaging is you want to tell a story. And every good story starts with a villain. Who's the villain of this story? So for a customer who's looking at trying to modernize their communications, the villain is the phone system. The villain is the challenge that they're trying to address. So clearly lay it out. Identify their villain. Talk about the problem that they're facing. Then you move into Act 2, and I call this the Goldilocks zone. This is where you start to talk about the choices that the customer has in front of them and the compromises that are required in those choices. Now, I don't mean start throwing FUD at your competitors. Don't name people. Talk generally. If you choose this door, you've got this problem. If you choose this door, this problem. So just like Goldilocks started trying different bowls of porridge, this one's too hot, this one's too cold, until she found the one that was just right. You want to talk about the bowls that are too hot and too cold. So this way the customer can start to get more confidence in the choice that you're going to present when you introduce the hero. Every good story has a hero who comes in and saves the day. This is you. This is what you bring to the table. So you want to lay into why your choice is the only choice that makes sense for that customer. This is where you put your value proposition together. This is where you talk about the benefits they will receive by using your solution, which then brings me to the third piece of what I wanted to talk about today. We've talked about how you craft good messaging. We've talked about how you use the rule of three to make your presentations memorable. The last thing is when you're talking about your value proposition, you want to sell the destination that the customer's trying to get to, not the journey on how they get there. So if I was buying an airplane ticket, I'm buying the ticket because I want to get somewhere. I want to get to San Francisco to see my son. I want to get to Orlando to go on vacation. I want to get to, wherever, Vegas for my conference. The airline sells me a ticket to the destination. I don't choose which route. Are they going to fly over the Atlantic Ocean to get to Orlando, or are they going to fly over the continental U.S.? As a user, I don't care. I'm buying an end state. I'm buying a solution. Now, as a sales engineer, when I first started coming through this environment, our industry has a tendency to lean into what we are, not what we do. The biggest toolkit that a sales engineer carries is a handful of dry erase markers, because a sales engagement used to start with, let me get a dry erase board, let me start drawing boxes and showing how it all interconnects, and I'm using acronyms like SIP and all these other things, and the customer doesn't live in our world. And a lot of times when they start seeing those things, it reminds me a lot of one of the more famous movies where the advice given from the CEO was, no more of that insider BS jargon that nobody understands, right? Or another way, if you've ever seen the movie Finding Nemo, there's a scene where the father fish, Marlin, is talking to the baby turtle about jumping out of the East Australian current. And the father fish looks at him, he says, I know you're saying things and they're probably really important, but I don't understand what you're saying. When you're in a presentation and your customer picks up their cell phone and they're just checking stuff, that they're the father fish. They're saying, you sound really smart, but I don't understand what you're saying, because you're focusing on what you are instead of what do you do for that customer. If you've done the groundwork up front, if you know what they're there to learn, and if you know the choices and the compromises that are made, and you sell your solution of what you're actually going to do for the customer, you're going to check all three boxes and you're going to win all of that business, and you're going to stand apart from a very crowded marketplace. That's really all I wanted to cover today, to create the ground rules of how you create an engaging messaging that matters to the customer, how you avoid murdering somebody with PowerPoint, and how you can really create compelling differentiation for yourself compared to all of your competitors. So with that, Don Marie, I'll hand it back to you, and we can take some questions that may
Yeah.
have come up.
Yeah, I have some for you.
Go.
So I love the Goldilocks analogy. You probably saw me giggling a little bit about it, because it's really important when you go out into your customers to understand that you are probably competing against somebody. Sometimes those competitors are wait and see. Other times those competitors are do nothing. But other times they're real competitors that offer a similar solution or some type of solution that enables that phone feature, right? So the Goldilocks time is really great opportunity to actively position against your competitors by setting up roadblocks for them on things that you know that they can't do. So what I was thinking was, off the top of your head, could you tell me how you would position um, something as a SIPPIO partner on what you want their competitors to trip up on?
Yeah, sure. So we're not the only company that enables voice in Teams and Zoom,
Right.
but we're the only company that makes it easy. We're the only company that focuses on the simplicity of doing that act, because a lot of organizations that are out there are focused on the boxes and bodies approach. Their pro services are the secret sauce that you want to buy, Mr. Customer. You want to convey, when you're selling SIPPIO, our why we exist. Our what is what we do. We turn on voice in Teams and Zoom. But why we do it is because we see an industry that is rife with complexity, with delays, and with cost. At SIPPIO, we believe solutions should be fast, they should be flexible, they should be easy, and most importantly, they should just work. So being able to walk a customer through, hey, you can land on our landing page, you can activate service in 10 minutes or less, and you can be up and running and ready to go. That is mind-blowing compared to my experience in the industry where, okay, and even with cloud, with UCaaS, It's going to take, say 4 to 6 weeks. We've got to do all these pro services. We've got to coordinate everything. 10 minutes or less, you're ready to go. That is powerful stuff. So you want to understand that you're not the only one out there, but to use the Goldilocks, the bowl is too warm. If you use some of the competitors out there that are saying, hey, this is really complicated stuff. There's a few different ways to do it. Do you want direct routing? Do you want operator connect? The customer doesn't care. Those are the routes to the destination. The
Sure.
destination is I turn voice on with Zoom or voice on with Teams. So, the complexity folks that are out there, you don't want to deal with that, Mr. Customer. You've dealt with that. That's old stuff, right? The other side of the spectrum is the folks that don't really understand how to do it. They've got a form fill out, and it's going to take 3 to 6 weeks just to get a quote. The SIPPIO advantage is we're right down the middle. It's fast, it's easy, it's flexible, and it's activated in minutes. It's available where you need it around the world. You start selling the value prop to the customer, you'll be a champ.
Yeah. Well, and what's great about that is because then your customer has an opportunity to ask some natural questions, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
going to say, well, how do you allow me to activate in 10 minutes? Like, how is that even possible? And then from there, you can start to show them the application. You can do demos, and then they start to see all their features and functionality, as opposed to trying to start with selling the application before they even know why they need it. And the why they need it relates right back to what you just said. So I think that it's just a great approach.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and here's where the SIPPIO why matters. To your point, well, how do you do that? Why? It's because we believe solutions should be fast, easy, flexible, and they should just work. You don't want to deal with the complexities. So that's why we do this, and we've built this cloud-based automation platform that others need to have, this big consultative approach to figure out where they're going to put boxes and what bodies they're going to use. This is why we've got an application layer that gives you that agility. So today you may be on Teams, but tomorrow your customer may decide to move to Zoom. Our platform makes that a snap without another number port, which as a partner means that you're more sticky in that account, because it doesn't matter which platform they choose to use for collaborations, you can still service them using our automation layer and our application layer. Powerful, powerful stuff. But if you
Yep.
start with the outcome, then you can talk about those things. If you started about talking about your platform and you started talking about your app, customers are never going to get it because you're not talking about the outcome.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's sort of like a nice to have, and they're talking about it, backwards, like the plane analogy that you gave.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's a brochure on what the plane is in the seat pocket, because I've seen it in there before. I don't know that I've actually ever looked at one. I'm just trusting that that pilot knows how to fly that plane and is going to get me to that destination. And that brings me into kind of my next question is you talked
Sure.
about the hero, and you said that the hero is the partner, which I agree with. And one of the terms that we hear a lot in the industry is trusted advisor. Sometimes I feel like people use it too liberally. Liberally, I might have stumbled over that, but they use it a lot. But I don't often see people backing it up. Like, why am I the trusted advisor? Why should you trust me? So, what are some of the things that you might suggest to our partners to back that up and differentiate themselves when everybody is kind of using the same buzzwords of direct routing, operator connect, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. The insider BS jargon that nobody understands, right?
Mhm.
The term trusted advisor has been used and abused, but here's what it means. As a supplier, I can't gain trusted advisor status at a customer location. They may trust me for my little slice of the world, but trusted advisor is a broader remit. It means I understand your business across the whole business, not just in telecom, but as a partner, my value proposition, the only two KPIs that really should matter is how do I help you drive new revenue streams and how do I help you decrease cost? And I do that as a partner by bringing technology solutions to the table that can help you drive new revenue streams or cut costs. It's not even that I can set them up or be technical. I'm the guy that makes the complicated stuff simple. That's not the value. As a trusted advisor, I know the business problems that you're facing. You're spending a lot on maintaining that legacy phone infrastructure. You're questioning, do I even need it in today's world where my people are all, on Teams meetings and Zoom meetings all day? Do we even need a phone system? Well, talking to that customer about how you can help them cut their costs with an ROI of over 140% and a lowering of the total cost of ownership by over 40% by simply making voice a feature in a platform you've already adopted instead of a thing that you buy and maintain and tend to and upgrade. That's the value, and that's just one example. And then when you spread that out across their plane of what they're doing in IT, and you start to offer complementary services, the whole attach piece that's going to be coming up later in this series, you really start to embed yourself into their business. You become a true partner to the IT organization, to the CIO. So when they have a problem, they're not sitting there trying to figure it out themselves of what solutions are out there. They're picking up the phone and they're talking to their trusted advisor. I've got this issue. How do I solve this from a business level perspective? Not how do I deploy it? How do I, interconnect SIP connectivity? That's not providing that value. It's sitting really talking to that customer, understanding their business, and then making the suggestions that matter to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. And you mentioned attach. Eddie Chisholm will be joining us in the 5th week of the series to talk just about that and long-term customer relationships and how do you keep that. So the last thing I wanted to ask you about before we recap was back on your first slide. You talked a little bit about the why, and I think it's really important. Somebody once told me about PowerPoint. Nobody ever showed up at a first date with a PowerPoint because you'd probably never get a second one. And we know some of the leaders in this space that lead with the why messaging. Apple does a great job of it. Simon Sinek, he's kind of an industry leader that people go to, and he teaches on that. There's a great TED Talk, I think, about it. But what do you suggest to our partners if they don't know their why? How do they kind of get started on that to figure that out? Because they might be leading with a what or a how.
Yeah, I think most out there lead with what. It's what we do. So, if somebody looked at SIPPIO, what we do is we turn on voice and Teams and Zoom for partners. But that's not why we do it. Why we do it is because we believe that solutions have become overly complicated over the years, and we think solutions should be fast, easy, and flexible, and they should just work. So when you look at that, you had asked about the Goldilocks zone, point of, if there's a lot of other competitors that are out there that can turn on voice and Teams. So if I was simply talking about my what makes me stand out from these other guys? How do I have confidence in the choice that I'm proposing that you make in using SIPPIO to turn on? Well, it's because of why we do it. And then the why we do it is backed up by the points that matter to the customer. Well, we've got a really great application layer that gives you the ability to rapidly, add new services, to change the platform that you're using from Teams to Zoom. It's a simple, easy, intuitive environment. We can activate you in 10 minutes or less. We've got a global footprint, so we can offer you service in over 70 countries. But if I started the opposite direction, what we do, we turn on Teams and we turn on Zoom, and we can offer service in 74 countries. You don't get all the way to the end. But when you talk about the problem the customer's facing, they're looking at, I've got this legacy phone system. It's expensive. I need special people and special tools to manage this thing. If you start with what you do, there's a giant disconnect. So start with why. And when you're presenting or even just messaging, the why is not about you. It's about them. What is your customer looking to get from this? What are the challenges that they're facing? And ultimately help them cut through the tax that choice is putting in front of them by understanding this bowl is too warm, this bowl is too cold. I want the one that's just right. If you use that structure, if you start with why and then you move your way down, you're going to close more business than you could even imagine. If you're helping your customers present to their leadership, which is just as important, if you do that and you teach them to start with why as they're going, because everybody's got something they're trying to gain. If I'm a telecom admin and I'm
Yeah.
presenting to my CIO, I need to understand what's important to them. I can't talk about what's important to me, right?
Sure.
So as a partner, as a trusted advisor, if I can help coach my point of contact on how to present this up the chain to theirs, that will even further accelerate business and create more trust in your account.
Yeah. Very good. So let's recap the day. Here's what I got out of your messaging, Steve. So hopefully I took away the right points, and I've got 3 of them. So one is the messaging should be about the customer, not about yourself, about what they want, because it's really for them. And
Mhm.
they'll probably be actively listening if you're talking about them as opposed to talking about you or your features. The next thing that I got is use the rule of 3 and try to capture their attention very succinctly and quickly. You know, sometimes 30 pages of PowerPoint is too much and just invites maybe too many questions that they would never have asked, and just kind of delays the process. And then the third thing that I got out of today is that the messaging should be about the business outcome, what you're doing for the customer, not what you are to the customer. So again, how are you solving their problems? How are you helping them meet their business goals versus all the bits and bytes? So that's the recap. And then I invite everybody to join us next week. We're going to talk about Transact with Ted Stoochberry from our team. And that session will be focused on how you're moving your customer from the interact stage, which we went through today, to the procurement and ordering and buying stage with you, and the solutions that you're bringing to market. So thanks for your time today. And as always, SIPPIO team is here to help you. If you go ahead and use your phone to highlight this link, you can get directly to Steve's contact information. He's got quite a large following on LinkedIn and Twitter. He puts out some really, really interesting content that's, you know, SIPPIO, but it's also related or generalized to general industry things that are happening. So he's a good one to watch and you know, really keep abreast of what's happening now and what might be coming down the pike in the future as this world is so rapidly changing. So thanks again, Steve. Great to see you. And everybody else, have a great rest of your day.